who has started this initiative, the Edu Talk, and she has reached out to all of us, and we have been trying. Today, I would like to see the initiative what he has built. There are a lot of webinars what is happening now. Every now and then we have been called in different webinars and different. Being a speaker myself, I understand the challenge what speaker face, because majority of the time moderators comes with 10-12 questions and the speakers typically don't get enough time to speak. So I was having a very nice talk with Mohanji on the same front. I typically don't follow the way the moderation happens. I personally feel the 4 person who are here, they are immensely experienced. Just having 12 broad questions, and if they are not justified with their time and expertise, there is no point of having this kind of webinar. It's a wastage of time for you all, and absolutely for me as well as for the participants. We will be taking few questions where I would like to give enough time to the panelists, because they are the one who comes with that experience, and I hope that insights is the main extraction point and the key learning what you would like to have. I will be introducing me at the last before I actually go to the first question. This is Amitabh Pal. I have been working right from early childhood to higher education. Right now, I am handling a college. I am an associate dean of a college in Mumbai. Very recently, last year, we were fortunate to receive an award by the President Ramnath Kovind itself. It's a sports management college. The degree is awarded by Mumbai University. We have 2 separate autonomous PG as well. Apart from these, I have been in the mentor panel, that is the mentor of change for the Atal Innovation Mission Niti Aayog. I have been in the mentor panel for Abhyuday. Abhyuday is a social body of IIT Bombay. There are multiple things I have been doing, but this is something, being a moderator is, to be very honest, is probably I would myself call it an accidental moderator. Thank you all. My first question will be to all three. I'll like to ask the question to MP Sharma ji first, because he's a sports person. And now if I see the way pandemic is happening, there are a lot of blind spots. And we all sports person know that, the sports person like to convert the blind spots into the opportunities. So what kind of blind spot you are finding, and how you are guiding, converting into the opportunities, if at all you find that yes, it is doable. And if it's doable, how? And then I will go to the academicians and how they are doing it. All over to you, MP Sharma ji.
Thank you very much, Amitva. And I think on the outset, I will also congratulate Dr. Shashi Pandey Sharma ji for having galaxy of stars on the panel, having Pooja Bose ji from Munnar, and having Amrita ji and having Soumya ji. They are very learned people, and I'm sure the participants are going to be very hugely benefited. And I think for the benefit of participants, I just wish to reiterate once again what Amitabh said, that you see the EduTalk, coincidentally, I'm told, is been affiliated and recognized by the MSME, that is the micro, medium, small entrepreneurship. So their certificates will matter, because under the National Education Policy, under the Article 5.15, the CPD comes, that is continuous professional development. And under that, you need to cover 50 hours per year professional development of teachers and principals. So this is going to be a very good benefit to all of them. Coming down to the blind spots currently, before going to the actual point, I just wish to say that whatever we are watching today, all around, if you look, there is Trahimam, mankind has been put on a toss by this tiny virus, the man might go for a toss. This is the first time perhaps mankind has felt, although pandemics has happened every 100 years. You look at 1920, the swine flu. Prior to that, there was also a plague. But this is the time when this pandemic has even tied our mouths. And I'm reminded of my childhood song, man is not going to lose. Although it is his own doing, it is his own doing. You see, man has been blessed with two unique faculties. One is thinking, the other is discovering. So, in order to being the supreme or to conquer the entire world, he has always misused these two powers. So, this is the time when perhaps, all this which has come from Wuhan has shut all schools. People are fighting for their survival, hospitals, not having cylinders, not having seats. And then there are people who are doing black marketing. What you're watching, everything is shut for one moment, including the schools. But hats off to the teaching fraternity, which has learned very quickly to come on online teaching. To one and all, I think we need to salute the teaching fraternity for picking up very quickly. Some of you on Zoom, someone on Google, Team, all sorts of communication people have learned, Padlet, all digital skills they have picked up. You see, the current scenario, the major difficulty with the school is that our schools are basically established for face-to-face learning. These schools are not built or developed to run in a staggered manner and having a on and offline, which eventually is going to be the call of the day. So all school managements have to, this writing on wall is very clear. We may not have, for reasons together, which I'll share with you. Reasons together are face-to-face school when kids are going, although it is very unfortunate. But that is the reality which is going to be. So the first, black dot which we need to convert is that we need to transform our schools which can adopt online teaching learning process, which are schools, luckily all 27 JP schools, we have fully equipped our schools to convert into a, you see, the challenge for the schools is that they are basically designed, schools have got large number of buses, there are sizable maintenance force which is working. Once the schools are off, the biggest challenge is to transform schools so that the schools are being able to. The other biggest challenge which I feel currently is with once we, at one side we are fighting with the corona, the other side the schools are expected to implement the NEP, which to my mind is a biggest challenge for the schools currently. This document apparently looks to be very simple, but once you attach legs to it, it is going to be a hurricane task. I have gone through, I have been in the drafting committee, and I was a part of, recommendation making committee of the ICSL. I have gone word by word. it is going to be a big challenge unless schools up their sleeves address the CDP very, very professionally and very challengingly. And I can tell you, in 2020, the government has in bits and pieces started implementing the national policy by introducing alternative academic calendar, through which they introduced the competency-based education. You see, the syllabus reaches to the student through the lesson plan. I don't know how many of us have got any idea. There is an engage model which the government has introduced, which is basically based on meta learning. Meta learning has never been a part of our entire teaching learning process. Children have never been made to be a part of the assessment. The NTA, National Testing Agency, is working on Parak, where 360-degree, the teacher will have 30 marks, the student will have 30 marks, and his classmate will have another 30 marks. So meta learning is another issue which coincidentally in our schools, we have introduced this system from 2020 April onward, whereby the meta learning has been made a part of it so that children know what is their learning trail. They know how to map their learnings so that they realize what are the shortcomings they have. Otherwise, previous years, what was happening is it was teacher who was telling, you are weak in this, you are weak in this. The acceptance was not coming from him. So that's another, very blind spot which we have on time started. We have an engaged model. I can share with the engaged model with participants later part that how the peer learning, how the meta learning, peer learning for teachers, there's an improvement plan which is attached to it. And yet there is another challenging area in the coming days. You see, parents have learned to make fee bi-monthly. So fee footfall has adversely affected. Unless school has got a very strong partnership with the parents. And students have also learned to learn at their own pace. The syllabus is not driven by teachers now, because the working has been reduced to 2 hours, 3 hours. But fortunately, the schools which have got good, I can tell you about, share with you all about the 2 JP schools which are in Gautam Buddha Nagar. Our fee footfall is considerably good. Although it has fallen short, there is no doubt about it. But our management has been very kind. I want to share with you all that in these difficult times, our management has extended lot of relief to the parents by offering number of schemes, because for us it is a CSR. Not that we want to go the school in losses, it will not. This is going to be a very, very big challenge for schools. But another thing which I want to share with all so that people are benefited. All this time when technology is becoming a part, there are a number of companies which has come forward. How to convert the hardboard into softboard, how to realize fee from the parents. I come across very recently a company called Landbox. They can convert the fee into EMI. Such companies will definitely come forward. But if the schools can ever realize, which we relied very much on time, our connectivity with the parents and the student during the pandemic has been very well. I think these are some points which I thought. And another last point, Amit, before I hand over this to you, is the need for bringing change in us in teaching fraternity is going to be major challenge. What all we have practiced past 70, 75 years is not workable now. It is becoming hindrance in our way. So we'll have to change our ways, and the change lies in us. And we need to, in the end, we need to look at the 21st century skills which the CBSE is advocating for the first time in the life skills. If you look at it, it is called flips. The first is flexibility. The resilience is working today. We are performing what we have not learned in school. So we need to make our children resilient. There are n number of schemes, which last time also I shared with you, the CBSE has introduced, like Pack India scheme. That is the transaction through the sports model, Spec India. So hardly, I'll tell you as a sportsman, hardly there are schools which are practicing. Believe me, are two schools which are practicing, Noida and Greater Noida. I think the principals are also, I can see them, Mrs. Meeta Bandula and Anjali Malik ji. They are doing wonderfully good. Thank you very much. And I think participants will be really benefited with the sharing of Amrita ji, Pooja ji, and Soumya ji. Thank you, Amrita.
Thank you, Sharma ji. Now I'll come to Dr. Amrita. So, do you find that there are blind spots? And if yes, how you are converting into the opportunities? The reason behind it, when it's not like even last panel discussion also, I was telling that every school in India is not equally kind of fortunate who have the kind of people like you are. You are the best. So the schools are fortunate, probably the parents are fortunate. But the moment you go slightly down, the challenge comes. So how you are finding and probably how you are converting, probably some of the best practices will be very, very useful by the audience, or probably whenever the recording will go to some of the teachers and parents, might be helpful. Yeah, over to you, Dr. Vora.
Thank you, Amitav, and thank you, Dr. Sharma. It's always an opportunity to learn from you all. Yes, the times are tough, and you're right, Amitav, there are blind spots, a whole lot of them. And you're right that we are some of the fortunate people who have. Maybe request the participants to please be on mute.
For all the participants, it will be really great. We all belong to academics and expect our students to behave. And if we don't behave, then it's a challenge lies ourselves. And which Mr. Sharma ji actually told that the change has to start from us. So let's be disciplined first before we expect discipline from the students. Thank you. Over to you, Dr. Vora.
Thank you, Amita. Very correctly put there. So yes, access is a bit of a challenge in our country still today. And as things have moved now from roti kapda or makan, as I say, to roti kapda, makan or internet. So our very essentials have changed. And the way we look at and the way we survive has changed. And it's not just that you need it for education, you need it for very survival pretty much in multiple ways. So yes, those are things. But when we look at it from the point of view of education per se, well, I feel that teachers all across, not in just one school or two schools, but I think teachers in general, almost all across, have really shown their grit, their determination. And you know, teachers were thrown into the deep end last year and we learned to swim pretty much. For a school like ours, things were a little different, little better in terms of we already had a blended learning policy. We already had a thought around this. And back in January 2020, this was pretty much the writing on the wall, and teachers were getting trained already. And by the time the pandemic, the lockdown happened in March, we were already all set and the remote learning schedules were rolled out. For the first time, when I talk about opportunities, this does mean that the entire classroom has for the first time transcended the idea of space and time. The classroom is genuinely, learning is genuinely in the hands of the child. It's genuinely student ownership. It's genuinely a whole lot of flexibility. The child can decide. It's a whole lot of student voice and choice, student agency. A child decides now pretty much. We've been talking about it for years as educators. NEP also has it, but it practically happened when the control has gone into the child's hands in multiple ways. The child does decide how much to learn, when to learn, how many times to rethink and rewatch that video, and so on and so forth. Which means that we moved from, we earlier used to speak about student-centered learning approaches. We earlier used to speak about differentiated instruction, reaching out to the specific needs of every child. From that, we have moved to a space of personalized learning, to pedagogy, to self-determined learning. It is, and a whole lot of self-reflection is the key here, because the more children really learn how to learn. I mean, today you and I don't really need to see what's in the textbooks pretty much, because we may not know everything. Definitely we do need to know certain things, all right, but 10 years down the line we may be using something completely else. Anything that you and I need to know is available at the click of a button. But what is important is that out of that whole sea of things that is available, it is a skill to be able to pick the right stuff, to be able to really understand the what's the right thing and what's not so correct, because there is a whole lot of disinformation and misinformation also doing the rounds. So the ability to think critically, to evaluate the information in front of you, and then to use it innovatively is what we really are here to do. So the whole paradigm of education itself has changed, and I think technology is here to stay. We may not like it. Educators have always had a sort of a love-hate relationship with it, but now it's a given. It's a devil to be tamed, and we have to ensure that we and our children don't get tamed by it. On the contrary, but then it is here. Also proven is the fact that brick and mortar schools are also here to stay. The whole of last year and now almost year and a half have proven that brick and mortar schools are not going away anywhere. They're so required. Learning cannot really be transferred to being purely online. There are a whole lot of advantages, yes, and we must make the most of those. But then the human touch, that element of the teacher and the student, that relationship, the ethic of care, that there is no doing away with it. You can't remove replace the teacher by a robot. AI and machine learning and so on, which is developing by the day, only goes on to say that it's the human values that we need to really work on. And the more human skills of creativity and thinking and emotional literacy, emotional intelligence, resilience, as Sir also talked about, are what are here to stay, and that's what we really need to be working towards in our schools. And I think that's why social emotional learning and development programs are at the heart of everything and much needed now. And that's what's is happening around most of the progressive schools across the country. Alongside, what's important is also to ensure that we don't lose out. The world is becoming increasingly a smaller space as connectivity grows. Children no longer just need collaboration. Children need what we call virtual collaboration now, and children need that skill of collaboration across cultures. Yes, we used to teach that. I mean, you are in college and I started my career in college. I remember 20 years ago, or a little more than that, I used to teach cross-cultural communication to students of MBA programs and mass comm and so on. At that time, I think it was very relevant for a child to know what to expect. You're in Japan, what to expect when you're in UK or in the US or a certain part of the US and stuff. But today, it's very, very different. Today, children are dealing with this every single day. There's a whole lot of co-teaching happening. There are numberless student exchange programs happening. Suddenly, the cost factor is moved out of it. Suddenly, the world is opened up. Children plan an MUN. It's no longer just local. It's suddenly global. They are interacting, and the perspective has obviously changed for this generation of learners. They are thinking in the global village, genuinely so. The other big paradigm shift that I see is there's no longer a teacher and a student. We have a learner and a learner. The teacher has moved from becoming that sage on stage to being the facilitator of the learning experience to now being a co-learner. We are learning with children every single day. This whole technology piece is they're digital natives. Every generation is smarter than the previous one. So they are certainly smarter than us. And we are here trying to teach them things that probably we are more knowledgeable about, but they're also teaching us things that they are more knowledgeable and comfortable about. So every day is become more of a collaborative learning exercise, and that is beautiful, because together then, what better than this to develop student agency or student voice and choice, and to really have learners talk about these are the things that we require. This is how I really learned it. This is what I understood. This is what I still need some more improvement at. So this is my strength. This is my area of improvement. Oh, this is my yellow box. And this is what I'm really proud of. I've done this right. Or being able to discuss and think about, okay, how exactly was I able to do it? I'm faced with a problem head on. How exactly do I solve it? What will work for me? Where can I seek help from? How do I pick out ideas and do it? What is it thinking about thinking? The deeper processes of thinking, or what service saying CBC is also calling metacognition, is also a whole lot of metacognition is now naturally developing, and teachers need to now focus more on that. Thinking routines and a whole culture of thinking is what we really need to create, because that's the thing that will lead them into the future. 10 years from now, the jobs that will exist in 2030, for instance, research tells us, the World Economic Forum recently brought out, that tells us that they haven't even, 80% of those jobs haven't even been invented yet. So what our children are going to be in is going to be a very different world. The only way we can really equip them is this, and that's what education needs to have, needs to be doing. The transfer skills is what we really need to be working towards. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Vora. Very, very crucial points you actually have covered. At least 2 years back, any of the controversial things, but they always come to the schools and they always try to sell their product on the education technology. Unfortunately, half of them don't understand what is education technology and why training is required. First thing is that you need to train your teachers as if all the teachers are bad, which is not the true. Probably the pandemic has given the scope. End of the day, the technology is a tool. The teachers are the key person and the learner, the way you have, right? Now nobody is coming and telling the teachers that probably this is the way, that is the way. I think teachers are learning by themselves. The teachers are sharing to each other and all. There's a huge paradigm shift in terms of that. I think for me, if I see that, we can actually empower the teachers and probably keep the faith. They are the one who can bring the change, not the education technology or probably the vendors who don't even understand the school mechanism. They just feel that parents in the schools are cash cows. Sorry, slightly controversial statement. I'll move to Pooja ji, how you are finding this and what is your thought process, and then I will be moving to Soumya ji.
Good evening, everyone, and quite a relevant topic of discussion, and I'm glad that we've taken up this subject. The world has seen numerous pandemics, but have always managed to emerge out of these pandemics. Why would this time be any different? We often ponder, why is it that time and again we are again and again encountering these pandemics? It's a subject of concern for all of us. What can we do differently this time? When the pandemic struck about a year ago, it has affected 1.3 billion learners. And we are still bearing the consequences of this pandemic, as we all know. How can we respond differently now is the vital question. Well, the infection has spread far and wide, and we are still in the midst of this crisis. But have you ever thought that what does it take for a infection to become epidemic or a pandemic? That's the learning which we need to take from this crisis. I think so. And why I take this point of discussion is so that we understand that our school curriculum also needs a remarkable shift from its old ways, because now there has to be an inclusion of these vital topics in its curriculum. I'm not advocating a major shift in the way we approach subjects, but what I need to mention here is that we have to bring about an inclusion of subjects like fitness, health, biodiversity, respect for other animals, respect for their natural habitat. All these things have to be sensitized in our learners right from the school itself. Because as of now, as a society, we tend to ignore these major issues altogether. Offices or institutions, as we all can see, have shifted from being physical spaces to mental spaces or virtual spaces. Now, as we see, we really don't need an infrastructure, a building to connect with so many people. Earlier, all these kind of meetings were happening in business conferences or auditoriums, but now we are connected virtually, which means that the way mankind is going to communicate in future is different from how we are communicating right now. So, and we need to understand the shift, we need to respect the shift, and we have to adapt as a species to this major shift. Now, look at the amount of space that will be available in the metros, in the cities, when the population moves out of those cities. Because as we can see that there is a drift of population from the metros where they were living in cramped spaces, unhealthy environment, and they're going back to their hometowns. And thus there is a lot of empty space in the cities. So what can we do about this? Is also a thought-provoking question. So these are our learnings as the pandemic spreads and as we encounter and learn to deal with it. The other shift which has happened and which is likely to happen and stay with us is automation and artificial intelligence becoming a way of life in education sector. Now, earlier, we used to think that we are going to adopt this, but a little later. We are going to do this, we are going to automate our school, but a little later. For us, automation or digitalization meant having smart boards in our classrooms. But that's not enough now. We understand that automation is here to stay. AI is here to stay. And also the fact that AI is going to take up each and every aspect of our education sector, from driving of buses, to managing the schools or the stores in the school, to distribution of textbooks, or giving homework, or taking exams, or proctoring exams, taking attendance, libraries, you name it, and AI is going to take it up like a storm. So we've got to prepare ourselves. As of today, Amitabh, even now we are not so ready for this major shift, but it's going to happen in all likelihood, and it has to happen because the world has already, embraced it. And in fact, we've reached a level to understand that human beings now, I would not be very wrong to say that a lot of the work which human beings were doing previously will become automated now. So in many aspects, computers are going to take up a lot of our world. And we earlier used to think that computers can't analyze, computers can't respond. But now the growth of IT has come to such a level that even computers can analyze and they can respond and they can behave in a way which is more conducive to the environment. So there's that kind of a remarkable shift which is going to happen. It's a new era, it's a new age, and we need to get excited and prepared for it. The other thing which I want to bring to amidst all of us for discussion is that, what is the teacher's role? Now, when we say that everything is going to become automated, then somewhere we feel that teachers will become, something which we can dispense with. But the real thing is that in this case, the teachers also have to react intelligently and respond differently. Instead of vying with the computers, we have to learn to deal with them. We have to learn to use them, or we have to learn to tame them. In that, we as educators need to understand that our role now will become to inculcate good learning habits in the children, to develop in them learning skills, something which we thought that our role is to deliver the curriculum. But now our role is going to shift to inculcating learning habits. What we said was like the meta learning, what Sir said, or the metacognition, all these things will be dealt by the teachers, which computers probably can't teach, right? And then the computers can also not teach developing a philosophy of life. Let us as educators focus on how can we develop a life's philosophy, or how the children can think about life's lessons, ask those relevant crucial questions about life, entrepreneurship, for example, develop those spirits of entrepreneurship, of innovation. These things AI and computers can't teach. These we have to teach to the students, to make them curious learners, to get them involved in the process of learning, to see an idea, an opportunity in crisis, for example. These aspects maybe the computers can't teach, and these are the things which teachers should focus on. The other area which we can also include in our curriculum now are the aspects on kindness, for example, or happiness, for example. So these things are going to become the new inclusions in our curriculum. The other area which also needs more focus, more seriousness now is health and fitness. And health and fitness, we really need to take it up at a higher level, because it's not going to be just limited to maybe a few, classes per week. It has to become like a way of life, like a thought, like a lifestyle, and which we as Indians need to take it up very, very seriously. And it has to start from childhood itself. So we should pay more emphasis to these areas and train the students to become self-learners, to spearhead their own learning process. Only then can we become the 21st century learners, or global learners, or global teachers, or 21st century teachers. We also need to teach our kids to learn to deal with crisis, to have enough funds to save money for crisis, because we may have recurrence of these crises. So we have to teach these lessons also. We have to tell them to respect health, global health, the health of our earth, which will be connected with our personal health also, because these global threats also need global cooperation and collaboration, is what I feel. Hence, these are some of the things which are necessary, and needless to add that, we have to embrace technology. We have to have greater digital access, and there are so many gaps in technology in our country. It's unevenly distributed. So we have to understand that to become equitable in terms of our access to education, access to digital technology is equally important and necessary now. So these are my views, and in the end, I can just conclude that mental health of the students needs to be an area of great concern for all of us. There's a lot of anxiety, there is fear, there is grief because they've lost a loved one. There's financial crisis in the family. So the student is in the middle of all of these, troubles. So we as educators also cannot, ignore these major problems which a child is facing, the stress which the child is facing, and we've got to help shoulder them in this time of crisis and time of need. So I would say that as a school, as an institution, as education sector, we need to think about these areas as seriously as we are thinking about biology or physics or mathematics. Thank you so much, Amitabh.
It was great because majority of the points has been beautifully covered, and the way you have been talking about the health and all and the mindset, that is right, because last year at least people thought that it's a matter of 1 year, but right now we are back to square one. So the battery has been exhausted. Last year is a new learning. Now the students, like they have never seen their classroom last more than a year, and again it's complete online. So before we can actually think of learning, they need to be pepped up. Till the time they are motivated, till the time students feel connected, the learning is going to stop. It's a major challenge in front of the, whether it's a school or college, we are facing the same challenge right now. Over to you, Shamya ji.
Thank
Are
you,
you,
Amitabh.
Amit?
Yeah.
Thank you, Amitabh, and the fellow panelists. I must say, very beautifully expressed by all of you. And yes, in these pandemic times, what I would say that we are also living in a pandemic of opportunities. And the one opportunity which arose out of all this was that we, as educators, acknowledged the fact that now schools don't have three stakeholders. It's not just students, teachers, and parents. There's a fourth stakeholder, and that is technology. We cannot do away with it, and we should not do away with it. It's as simple as that. And while accepting that, the teachers, our educators, had to be technologically comfortable, which all happened last year. We've all schools have been through this roller coaster ride. And now picking up from what you said, Amitav, that the battery is exhausted. No, the battery cannot be exhausted. So there's a continuous reskilling of the educators which has to happen. A reskilling of the educators, reskilling looking into the tiny, tiny nuances of the curriculum, the content which you are delivering. All your lesson plans have to be redesigned, had to be accommodated and modified to suit the learning outcomes which are possible on an online mode. And yet at the same time, what we have to be very careful about, and which we at Bluebells made a very conscious effort, was that as far as possible, the elements of inquiry, creativity should not die down. Try to make the learning as far as possible, as experiential as possible, as it has been in the physical classroom. So there's been a regular and continuous, I would say, capacity building. And as Dr. Sharma pointed out, with the NEP also saying that 50 hours of CPD, well, this is something which has been going on, and now it is going on keeping in mind, well, the blended model. Online learning will not die down completely, will not go away. It is imperative in this juncture of education today. Today, the juncture has two paths. Either we go back to the first path, which is carry on business as usual, or the second path that we incorporate some of the imperatives. And one of the imperatives is that blended learning, the hybrid model, is here to stay. Variations, percentages, usages, online, offline, physical, would vary as per age appropriacy. As Dr. Bora had pointed out, that okay, what to be picked up from the internet, what content the child is to look at. What we have to focus now is, even while handling and handing down content, which is available at a click of a button, is giving things which are age appropriate for the children, be it an early years program child or be it your +2 level child. It all has to be dealt very carefully, age appropriately. And while doing all this reskilling of the teachers, and as I said, the entire lesson plans also be accommodated. Plus, I would also, in fact, a thought comes to my mind that the NEP now talks about bagless days and internships in the middle wing. Why are we waiting for that? This is the time. Now is the opportunity to give children those tiny, tiny projects. There is no need for a formal internship. Look at what is happening in the world around you. I would take an example of a grade 12 student. Out of her own initiative, some of you, like Amrita from Gurgaon, may have noticed on some Facebook pages, out of her own initiative, this child started a vaccination drive. And how she went about it was she invited entries. She raised funds on her own, rolled out a competition for adolescent years, like I think it's from 10-year to 20-year-olds, and inviting entries of how you can raise people awareness regarding the vaccination drive. Now tell me one thing, here is a young girl doing all this, a grade 12, a 16-year-old. Is this anything short of a formal internship? These are the kind of moments which we need to create in our study programs for the children. Why not have our children engaged? Schools are creating help desks to cater out to the parent population or even their own educator population in this hour of need. Why not have the children engaged with their own RWAs sitting at home? So many RWAs have, created these mini COVID facility centers, I would say, within their RWA clubhouses or community centers. Why can't a child sitting at home be engaged with it? Simply, even if you're just calculating the data that, okay, this is the number of residents. We have so many active cases right now. What could be the possibility? How many oxygen concentrators would be required? Does our RWA have a sufficient access to the amount of medicine which may be needed in the next 3 days? Are these short of any internships? These are the kind of opportunities which this pandemic has thrown open. Home chefs rolling out COVID meals. Every day you read so much to look out at these posts. Children. In fact, it was such a beautiful thing the other day when I saw on a social media platform, here is this mom who's packing COVID meals and her little kid, what is he doing? On each box, he's writing, Khush Raho. Imagine the sensitivity, the empathy which has gone into that child by that little gesture which he's doing. That's what I'm saying. So these are the opportunities. Reskill your teachers, look at all this plethora which is available. These are the opportunities which can be created, because along with this pandemic opportunities, let us not forget that we are also somewhere underlying hidden is an emotional pandemic. Children are facing loss of their dear ones. Every day we have some news of a mishap reaching out. All families are experiencing this. Our educators are also under the threat of this emotional pandemic. Just like doctors, they still have to mask their emotions and reach out to their kids. Have wellness meetings, have wellness clubs in your schools. This is the time now when we are not stepping out of our homes. Why not connect with the families of our educators? People are not going out. They're all at work from home. How about having tiny, tiny cultural virtual sessions together? Reach out to the family members. You're creating that bond, a bond which will go a long way. This pandemic may go away in a year or so. The hope is that, but this bond will remain forever. The kind of sensitivity, the life skills, the emotional well-being, the way we'll reach out to the families. I think that's what I feel like, these are some of the things which we can incorporate. After all, education has always been about flourishing of a human being. And we do it majorly by two aspects, at least that's how I believe. One is the cognitive excellence and the other is character excellence. Cognitive excellence, yes, we are looking at all the developmental goals, the milestones, our learning outcomes, everything that is happening. Character excellence will emerge out of all these things. At a time when we are probably finding it, we are incorporating our co-curriculars, but at certain points, I'm sure all schools across find it a slight handicap, especially when it comes to sports. Physical fitness is happening. And I'm sure Dr. Sharma would agree with me that sports, the biggest value which sports teaches you is to face failure in life. It teaches you how to lose. If it teaches you how to win a match, it also teaches you how to lose one. You lose one and you again are ready to play the other one. So these kind of things where we are finding handicaps, why not have these other strategies employed into our content? The child will never find it as a burden. We are teaching statistics, you are teaching data interpretation. Why not give them to this as just a project that, okay, you have this week long, you have 10 days, take your time, children. The world is yours, the time is yours right now. No hurried thing that, okay, you have to dispersal time 2 o'clock and you have to board the school bus, go back home, and we are beating traffic and all that. None of us is facing that. So might as well make use of this time, create such opportunity, ensure that these opportunities, our educators are skilled enough. As school leaders, the entire school leadership, all of us, the onus lies on us. The connect with the parent has gone, I would say, it's gone out of bounds. This is the time when your alumni comes into play. The alumni associations, they can be their role models for the little ones. See, because there is no shortage. We are talking of international exchange programs, as Dr. Vora mentioned, perfect. All the cost factor is cut out. Connect with schools differently. In fact, I would like to share an experience over here of what we did once in school. Like, and actually every year in the school for the past so many years now, for the primary kids, we have this huge exhibition where the year-long learning is projected. Now, in the online mode, we created this platform with breakout rooms and everything, and it was all child driven. Children, it was like a carnival, children, parents visiting it, children engaging with doing mathematical games with it. And that was the opportunity which we had, our partner schools from Vietnam, from Japan, visit us virtually. And all those children also took part. So it was like you are building up the cultural competencies of the children, without having to think of, all those logistics that, okay, how many parents will be able to afford, how many would be able to go, how would we accommodate when their team comes here. So all these global competencies are built up. So that's what, like, my submission to this is that as educators, as members of the education fraternity, let's go on creating these opportunities so that the battery doesn't get exhausted. Thank you.
Sharmaji is beautifully explained. In fact, the way you have been sharing that, small strategies about the small projects and all, right? Now, what is happening particularly in the schools where you are working, or probably the schools or the fraternities, you all who are the experts are working, they are the one who are typically getting the benefit, but which is not happening all across. The sharing is not happening. So because, when we, like, for example, you took an example of Facebook. Now, Facebook, there are different users and all teachers are not connected to each other. So we were having a very similar talk in the last panel discussion. I'll be very happy to share that with Dr. Shashi and Mohanji. Mohanji, we discussed about if we can come out with some kind of platform which actually allows the schools and teachers to register themselves. It's a completely teachers-driven platform where that, people like you can start sharing things which can be a very eye-opener for others. That thought process has actually triggered one of the entrepreneurs. He reached out to me after they heard our conversation, and some platform is coming up. Maybe in a month or so, some platform is coming up. The same thought that we discussed last day, Mohanji.
Yes,
some fruitful
very
thing.
right. Amit, before there are two small points I want to make it. This is well taken. I think very thoughtful of you of sharing, and this can really enrich the teachers. There are two small points I want to make it. One is the value of solitudeness. You see, we need to appreciate during this pandemic, when we are locked in, homes, we at times feel alone. We are not alone. Solitude is one value which we have forgotten. You see, we need to connect with ourselves. We need to. Hello.
Participants, humble request if you can mute yourself. all participants. Participants, humble request, please mute yourself because people are interested to listen the panelists' views.
क्या मोनोटोनस काम है? किसका काम मोनोटोनस है? चालू का जो नया अपनी काम है, एक ऐसा काम है डेली वेही कैसे भी होगा
Hello.
मोनोटोनस टाइप.
I think that is number one. And the second, which I thought, Amit, was the PPP, the public-private partnership. You see, our schools in JP has learned to do a lot of partnership with the other agencies. In the last program, I shared with you that our school has a partnership with the NBA, the National Basketball Association of America. So automatically their coaches keep coming. Then we have a partnership with another agency which is into inclusion. You see, they are looking after differently able children. We have also started a wing called Prerna in one of the schools. And we also run a CSR of the schools. Our schools have got also picked up CSR. Like the Greater Noida School runs a Balwadi. Similarly, the Noida School has also a program for the children of maids. So, you know, the partnership we should start doing so that the children learn this skill of collaboration with the others. So these 2 points I thought, you know, value of solitude. Solitudeness is a value which will help us discover ourselves and connect with other people. And this is a high time that all teachers need to connect with their own self. Thank you very much.
Great. We have already crossed 1 hour. We'll be having a second question, some quick view from all four, and then we'll call it off. The cues have already come from Soumya and Dr. Vora. We were talking about the physical existence, we're talking about the physical touch, we're talking about the brick and mortar and all. And now there of course the blended learning, it was there, of course not to the extent that we're having right now, but homeschooling was also there, but definitely it was not as much as people are thinking about. Now at least homeschooling obviously is not as much as effective in the latter years, but early years there are a lot of parents who are actually thinking and emphasizing if the homeschooling can be effective at least for next 2-3 years, because there is a lot of people, to be very honest, are scared of. However, there are some schools who are coming up with complete online model. Such school have already started in India. It's completely online. What do you see? Because I personally believe that whether it's a school or college, till the time things are physical, the learning is not as effective. Whatever way we do it, we can try our best, but physical learning, the brick and mortar, the feel good factor, the teacher's presence and all is the best. But the way it has been talking about the blended is of course is fine. Hybrid is still fine because sometimes they are coming. But where do you see the complete online model in India? Because that has already started. What is your views?
Shall I?
And Sharma ji, you can start, and then we'll go to Bhora ji.
I thought
You can be completely
Amit,
disagree with me, because I
rightly
personally
said,
don't believe completely online school.
I too, same. I think it is not going to also, I think Dr. Vora also mentioned, and Soumya ji also mentioned, Pooja also mentioned. I think somewhere along the line, we'll have to come in the middle way when we have online, offline going together. We can't do away with the online. It has to be an integral part. We need to have a mix of online, offline model, which can take care. Only thing which is challenging for the schools, which I feel is, the parents have learned one thing and it suits them, which is going to set the ball rolling in future. The fee footfall. They've learned to pay fee monthly. And then many of them, you will realize once we are frankly coming up, the fee footfall is one part. Secondly, the students have learned to learn at their own pace. So this physical school is not going to be 100% beneficial. The school management's call have to be there. that we have somewhere a mix of two, a blended learning, offline, online learning. I think I'm with you on that score, and we need to go with it.
Fantastic.
I think
Soumya
Dr.
ji.
Vora can pick it up.
Yeah, Dr. Bora, and then we'll come to Soumya ji and Pooja ji.
Ji.
Okay. So with you there, as I said earlier, brick and mortar schools are here to stay. And a very key point that Soumya ji picked up when she, and I think she touched a chord with everyone with that. And because, yes, and she called it an emotional pandemic. And what I have been using the term, we are also going through a social isolation pandemic. That's definitely not good for children. It's difficult for adults also, but it's worse for children. Just think of us growing up. We grew up in large joint families, most of us. There was no dearth of human communication, interaction all around. Virtual communication is not the same as we all could see it. For a few days the schools did open, albeit in the hybrid model, and you could, despite all the social distancing, you could see children, you could see the way they felt when they looked at their teachers, the way they felt when they looked at or they met their friends after so long. Describing the beauty of that emotion. I think that was we literally grow up in schools. Most of the waking hours, if you think of families, if you look at families, they are mostly nuclear families, one child or two child families. The child is not even getting that interaction, the social interaction with, at home. Even with the cousins and the larger family, it is dependent on school, so we can't do away. They need to develop socially, emotionally, and in multiple ways. And I think this is the time parents more than ever have realized, because they've seen the kind of effort that goes in. Yes, there is a flip side, and there will be different people thinking differently. Everybody has a right to their opinion, but what's very key is that children need the human touch. We can't take that. We are social beings. We can't take that out. Technology does not completely compensate for that. The sense of routine is really important. Technology does not. While yes, flexibility and your own pace, etc., is good, but the balance is more than necessary. Anything in excess is bad. And there are advantages as well as disadvantages of both. So what we need is the best of both worlds. Another aspect that you pointed out was that, particularly in early years, parents are feeling that, we can probably think of homeschool, etc. That's the worst time. You try at homeschool any other age but at early years.
Yes.
Because those are the most critical years. They will never come back. And
Absolutely.
already the kind of loss that has happened over the past year with so many parents across. And when when they come with that child and they've said the age is this and you admit my child in this grade, we do that. At that stage, you're not going to take an exam or something, or entrance test, etc. But we do realize the huge gap. We do realize the amount of bridging we'll have to do, and it's difficult to do when we are online. We're doing it. We figured out ways, and yes, we are working on those things also. But the child's already lost that 1 year, and now for some children, 1.5 years, probably more. That cannot be brought back. There is a whole lot of training that goes into, teachers are professionals. If a parent is thinking early years, I'll do homeschooling, please learn our profession first. Please become a doctor first before ensuring that you're going to treat the patient. You're taking that ownership. Would you say that I don't need a doctor? So if it's the same thing. Teachers are professionals, and it's important to respect the profession as is. And what the teachers can do, parents can definitely work with them. Parents are these days attending lessons, and more than ever, I've seen them realize that what all goes into it, and the beauty of how a class really works, and the kind of effort it takes and everything. And so parents have genuinely become partners. What the child needs from a parent is lots of love, support, and care, and that free space to really learn and grow. They need to be able to consolidate that learning that happens at school at home. So that is needed, definitely. And I agree with this Gulati when she says that, you know, the relationship between parents and school has really transformed. I think the kind of ethic of care that has developed over this, so whole of last year teachers were making care calls. We did some virtual home visits, and you know, for wellness sessions for teachers themselves. Gossip meetings is something that we ended up doing because people were missing their regular chit chat in the staff room, right? So the basic things which are human, which make us who we are important and very, very key skills to learn. Tomorrow, each of these kids going for for them in the real life. Do they? Is it even possible for them to survive without having really built all these social skills? They're very, very key. Also, yes, there's a whole lot of opportunity for children who want to make use of it. So our children, for instance, are doing this fundraiser. They have tied up with the RWA, and they said that we will ensure that while the school is doing this pastoral care and stuff, we will ensure that, you know, there are sufficient oxygen cylinders, there are medicines, there are things required with the RWA. Nothing goes wrong for the residents of our community. So these kind of initiatives by students and the way they go is beautiful. I think children are developing and learning with the times. We need to understand that is what is required, and respect schools for what they do, and strengthen relationships. Relationships are everything. Strengthen that communication and relationships at every end. Thank you.
Great. Since it's 7:15, we'll have a very, very quick bite from Sharmaji and Poojaji on the same thread. Whether do you agree that the brick and mortar works, or you still feel that there is a scope of some online and all?
Not at all, Amita. I think I already mentioned that yes.
Yes.
And the very fact that when Dr. Vora mentioned remembering our school days, well, I think all relationships at one side, and we all still cherish our school relationship, the relationship which we had with our school. That's to count all our educators, all our school friends, that as such, the relationship, the emotional bonding which we have with that building, for that matter. Even today, if we were to visit our school, there are those memories which keep running. Oh, this is where we used to sit over here, and that's my used to be my bench, and this is where I did my experiment. How can we deprive our future generation of all that, of building up that bond, that relationship, which is so strengthening in your growing up years? That is the relationship which we all fall back upon. We are not in joint families these days. We need that physical space. It's our space. It's not just for children, for teachers. The staff room is their went out space. Let's acknowledge it. We've all been active teachers at some stage or the other. I personally still miss the staff room time. It's like, you know, the school brings in so much of emotions. So yes, brick and mortar schools are there to say nothing can replace physical classes. Yes, if we look at blended learning in the coming times, probably what will happen is that yes, some of the bridge classes, maybe your PTMs, if a parent is unable to visit, your international exchange programs, some of them would happen virtual. You could have, even if you're not able to do certain excursions for whatever reason, you have these virtual museum visits, you have your virtual astronomy walks, where parents may be reluctant to send a child out of for a night stay or whatever. Well, this is how, where the blended learning will majorly play a role. At least that is the vision which we have for our school. Thank you.
Great. Poojaji.
See, Amita, there is no denying the fact that this is just a very synthetic arrangement in which we
Yes.
are, running our schools. The reason is that the schools as an institution were never developed only to impart theoretical knowledge. Theoretical knowledge in itself is incomplete. It has to be supplemented with practical knowledge, with skills. And that is tremendously missing in the current scenario. We all know that. So, I mean, needless to even think about the things which we are unable to do online. Online arrangement is just a stopgap arrangement of sorts to keep the learnings on, rather to just continue with what we can in terms of the way the textbooks and the lessons. But can you really forego the lab experiences, the chemistry lab, the aroma and the smell of the biology lab? That is, cannot be substituted by anything. What about the playground? If you remember the matches that used to happen and the cheers of the spectators and the inter-house competitions, the value, the social value, which the human value which these matches and these events imparted is actually priceless, cannot be substituted for a virtual medium. I really feel that the assembly is one thing which is totally missing from our routines. We try to have virtual assemblies, needless to add, but the way assemblies used to happen, the whole rigmarole of arranging the chairs, the mic, the house captains running helter skelter to keep things better than the previous house, all those things are impeccable experiences. You cannot substitute them for anything. Not to miss about the bus rides. I mean, when the children used to board the buses early morning and sit and chat, and afternoons when they used to return, they were also excited. So the child is a bundle of energy. The child is not meant to sit in front of a screen and just listen. The classroom has its own set of energy levels which the children are totally missing. And I really feel sad for these generations, these two generations who are going through the COVID times. They are missing out on such valuable experiences. The recess time was amazing learning time for the children. There were seniors who were coming and asking the juniors what's happening in their lives, and then then to buckle up their shoes and to behave themselves. And then there were a whole lot of those running helter skelter and banging into each other. I mean, those are the experiences which we cannot trade off for anything. We have a dining hall here where around 300 students eat together. I mean, the importance of eating together and how the feeling of family comes in, that bonhomie with the house and with their prefects and all of those things. They are just, priceless experiences a school life brings to the table. The teachers are missing the cup of tea in the staff room and the gossip, as a ma'am said. And that gossip is actually not just that. There were times when there was heated discussions about how we can have a particular event and how we shouldn't be having it. The huddles and these are priceless, and these are things which we are tremendously missing. And I think we cannot have it all virtually. So this is just a stopgap arrangement. We have to pray and pray like hell that everything comes back to normal so that our kids can be kids again. Thank you, Amitav.
Great. I think we have covered major portion, not only in the broad and the macro. I think you all have actually touched upon a lot of micro strategies and the best. So for the participants, I personally did not want to finish it at 7, because when you have 4 great panelists, and if you just give 1 hour, probably we would have missed so great insight which came for 7. So we continued, and that's how probably it's justified to have them on board. For the Edu Talk, Shashiji, thank you very much for inviting us. I personally feel that you can type the email, because I'm sure the teachers might be having, or the participants might be having certain questions. they can send the questions, and probably we can work on those questions, and we can have a similar session, and we can call them again, or probably somebody else to have an appropriate session. So please write down the email address in the chat section. And as I was mentioning about the platform, since the platform idea for the teachers community, because what is happening right now, the Facebook and all, the way LinkedIn works is a very similar platform what is coming for the teachers community, and the idea actually got generated in our discussion. The entrepreneur reached out to me post we discussed, and I'll just having a talk with Shashiji. So I will actually get it launched in the EduTalk platform itself. That is a promise from my side.
Great.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the time.
Thank you, Amit, and thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Participants, you will be receiving your certificates. You will be
Yes,
receiving
by
your
mail.
certificates by mail. You will be receiving. Hope you have all registered. If you have not registered, do register yourself so that you can get the certificate. And if you are attending next time, my humble request will be, please learn how to mute so that it
Yes.
goes very smooth.
No, Amitava, I'm also learning
Yeah.
a lot of things because I was unable to handle this screen sharing and how to handle these technical things. So today I have learned a lot, and definitely I'm sure next time I'll not repeat any mistake.
No, don't worry. Our panelists are also telling that we all are learning together.
Because
Oh,
once
yes.
when I started, my voice was echo. So because yes, really, two systems were working there. So I tried to resolve the problem till that time. But really, it was very wonderful session. Everybody enjoyed, and I'm receiving a lot of messages on my chat box, on my personal chat box, because they are unable to join us. We have crossed the limit 100.
Dr. Shashi, I want to congratulate you because you see the kind of audience you had today were principals, were teachers, were vice principals, were directors. All
Yes,
hats off to you for starting EduTalk, and we'll further carry forward. Thank
yes,
you.
sir, definitely.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you once again. It was wonderful session. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye and be safe. Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you so much, all of you.
Yeah.